Now, this field here looks very barren. This is because we don't have any foliage. We don't have grass, we don't have bushes, we don't have anything. We could go to foliage tool and create a foliage or get an active foliage. We could create it, we could make it ourselves and manually plant them all over the place. That is not a hard thing to do. We can create just, let's say, static mesh foliage. And let's see, let's create a new folder. Call it foliage. And let's call it foliage underscore foliage actor underscore push. Let's open this and go to mesh and select SM bush. Now we save this, and if it clicks this and start painting, we will manually paint this bush around the level. Give it a second for it to finish downloading. Compiling shaders to be more precise. And now we can just put them all over the place. We can remove them if we want and erase them, etc. Removing is quite different from erasing. And you can edit the parameters here. Let's say we want it less density, so let's say 10, radius or 100, and put it here now. Oh, my apologies, I should have selected paint. Now we get less foliage. We have additional parameters here. Or it is scale. You may notice we have min and max. This is to randomize. So let's say we have 0.5 and just for demonstration, let's say 8. Some foliages are now very big, some foliages are very small. We can make them movable, etc. But quite honestly, it's not recommended to have them movable. It's better to have them static. And we have collision. You don't really want to have collision in foliage because of obvious optimization issues. You don't want your character to move around and be stuck on a piece of grass unless a particular kind of foliage is required to have collision. You should not use collision. Regardless, I don't want to use this way. What I will do instead, I will go and remove, first of all, erase. The way remove works, you need to select the foliage and click on remove, but we don't have it saved. So we will just erase it manually to clean up the scene. We could manually paint the whole level with this, but this is not really efficient way of our time. Obviously, if you are trying to create a beautiful landscape, you want to micromanage every detail, manual placement makes a lot of sense. You can place them in singles by just clicking this single button, or you can place them in fill, just fill the whole area with it. But I don't want to waste time on it. So what we're going to do is instead spawn foliage with the material. For that, first we need to create an actor called landscape grass type. I already created one, but I will redemonstrate. Let's go to foliage. Go to foliage section, and we have landscape grass type. We create this. Let's call it LG, let's go grass and T, and call it bush. The reason why I call it bush is because we are only going to have bush, but you can have multiple grass here as elements. In our case, I'm just going to add bush, so I just called it bush. But you could have a set of different grass together, so you can just spawn on with one grass. Here, we select our bush actor. And the reason I'm using it is because it's only one available in starter content. You can create your own bushes, you can add something from asset store, from fab, anywhere you want. And let's save this. We can edit the density of the grass. We can use again the same similar concept here, max min size. And let's make max size 2. Calling distance is this important, like at what distance you want to see your grass. I will leave it for now on 10k, but you may want to reduce it or increase it depending on how important this grass type is for you. And you may notice there is no collision in here. The disadvantage, well, perhaps disadvantage depending on your game, of using this to spawn your grass or foliage, you cannot add collision to them. So let's go back to our master material. That was gravel. So let's go back to our master material. Right click and call grass. Landscape grass output. You may notice there is no place for this. There's no output node for this. This acts as an additional final output node. And we need to add our grass here. LTG bush. Now let's take a look at our just give it a moment. You may notice nothing really happened. This is because we don't have anything in the input section. Now we need to explain to the materials where to generate the static meshes for the bush we have previously converted into a grass type. We cannot just put in this information here because this is a combination of layer blends and there is no real way to generate placement from our previous nodes. To do this, we need a sample node, sampler. Or layers. Landscape layer sample. And we need to put this in. And here we need to type in the name of the layer. That layer, in this case, is grass. You can just copy paste this or type it in and save. Let's see. Suddenly we have a lot of grass generated where our grass material was. I still think it's a bit too bright. Let me reduce the brightness a bit more. Yes. And as you can see, I did not have to paint this. And you may argue it is too dense. We can reduce the grass density. So let's say I don't want a lot, I just want 10. And save. And now I have some grass. I want them generally to be a bit smaller. So let's do min 0.2 and max at 1. Now we have grass. that is optimized to a degree, and we can just place them automatically by using a material. Obviously, we can create multiple layers and each of them can have their own nodes to produce meshes. So let's do another one, just this time for gravel. I want small rocks. Let's see if I have any rocks as meshes in the starter content. Rock. We have a rock, I believe. Let's take a look at it. It's a rock. So let's go through the process again, this time faster. Let's go to our foliage, create a foliage landscape grass type, call it LGT underscore rock. Open this, add an element, make this element a rock. Reduce, let's say, size from 0.2 to 1 as before, and I don't want it to be dense as well, but let's do it 20. Save this and let's go to our landscape material. Here we can add a second element, and we can create a new parameter name, sampler, put it in. We could straight up make two different foliage types spawn in one layer sample, but we want there to be dirt on gravel layer and grass, or in this specifically bushes in grass layer. So what we need to do is same as before. We copy the gravel parameter name, put it into the second node, go to here, go to our second element, call it gravel, enter, save. Let's go back to our level. There is nothing. You may be wondering why. We go back to our material. We have gravel, grass, and we have landscape, but we don't have this second landscape type selected. LGT rock, select it, and we have rocks. Now, you may notice it is producing rocks in grass as well, because these materials are layered on top of each other. They're layers. Which means the information the material is getting here is incorrect. We do have here rocks, and we have rocks and grass. You may wonder why this is happening. First of all, let's reduce the amount of rocks and their size. It's too much. Let's make it maybe 4, and size can be 0.1. It seems I have undoed it by mistake. And let's 0.4. I don't want big rocks, I want small rocks. Maybe let's add a bit more rocks here. 4 maybe too much. Yeah, just small rocks here and there. They don't look good. The fact that they're all the same scale, I don't like it. So let's add a free. By making it free, it means their scaling in all directions are randomized. So let's do this like this. Save, and probably rocks will look more different. And I don't like them being tall, so let's reduce this z-scale to 0.2. So we don't have tall rocks. Yeah, we have now pebbles, etc. And let's edit their clusters as well. which we can do it here, maybe. No, this is hardly I need. Hardly any difference. Let's restore it as it is. Make them a bit more. I don't want call distance. I want random rotations. Sadly, this is more or less a limitation of us having not a lot of rock variations. Regardless, let's leave it as it is. And now the main question is, why do we have rocks on grass? This is because the way layers work, when we were painting, we had this tool strength here on 0.3, which means this grass here is weighted. Despite us using non-weighted layers, this grass is actually weighted, and we have now the value of 0.3 on the grass and 0.7 on the gravel. The easiest way to fix this is to remove the gravel information from here, or tool strength 1 and click grass and just paint it again. But even if we have one grass, it's still not ideal. We want to remove the gravel information. So we click shift and remove the gravel information. Now, if we remove gravel information, we will not have rocks, and our grass will get more green. Unreal is blending our two materials together, which is a great functionality to have. But when you use this to produce rocks and grass, this may be a demerit. So it's up to you to whether you are going to use them as a material to produce the foliage, or you are going to use foliage tool to paint the foliage and place them manually in the level. Now let's clean up this scene a bit in a fast fashion. I don't want any grass here on the sides. We are going to have a mainly. Let's remove gravel here. We also remove the grass, it will be black. So it meaning black, it means there is no information here. So if I put gravel and grass here, you will see in the middle they blend together. We can use this to, first of all, let's remove this. Shift click to delete the layer information. I don't want gravel here to be. What we can do here is we can add a gravel layer on the sides, the hills, and grass layer on the sides as well, and only grass in the middle. What will give us is a layer with grass foliage only into a blend of grass and gravel, so rocks and foliage, and only rocks. You can again use multiple layers, use them however you want, create whatever you wish to create. Now, we will save this. We will not waste any more time on this landscape generation. And do keep in mind, the layer info for this placement for the painting in the landscape is these two files. Make sure to not delete them or move them from where they are supposed to be. Generally, it's not a good idea to touch them. You don't really need to do anything with them, usually. As such, don't touch them unless it is absolutely necessary and you are aware of what you are doing. Now we can move on to creating our scene. So now we have a landscape. And next, I want to create something to where we can create our game elements. But we don't have meshes. And by that I mean we don't have blocks, etc. And quite honestly, I don't want to use multiple blocks for this. So we are going to go back to modeling tool. And in modeling tool, let's create ourselves. Let's create ourselves a platform. We can begin with a cube or a box, we wish to call it. Let's put it here. And we can make its height 100. My apologies, 1000. Perhaps it's a bit too big. Let's make it 500. And let's see. We can align it to the ground. We align it, target position to the ground directly. Should I? No, let's just keep it low poly. No need to get too creative here. Now we have this enabled. Let's put it a bit in the ground. And we can model this further to create ourselves a platform. We can polygroup edit this. We can enlarge, to be precise, extrude this face. Select this face. And let's see. What we can do here is push or pull this face here. Let's do this further. Let's make it a big platform. None is a real reason to make it small. And extrude it again. I may have misclicked something. So let's click on this face again, extrude it slightly. And click on this, extrude it again. This will be our part of our platform. Now let's push this face. Perhaps I should have pushed a bit more. I'm making it big just in case we need it. But quite honestly, you are free to do it any way you want, any shape you want. You may have noticed I made a mistake. I don't have legs for this part because I did not extrude a proper face. I could add additional edges, etc. But instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this and extrude all the way here. And I'm going to extrude slightly again to create additional faces. I will click on the bottom face of the newly created face, extrude it again, the ground. And now I have this here, which I can easily extrude again. So keep in mind, the reason why I am doing this is just for the sake of saving some time. As I do not wish to model the whole platform. This is very useful for blocking and creating the samples for the environment, which later on you can ask your modelers or creative team to make, or if you are going to it yourself can make. Now we have this, and the idea is this is attached here to the mountain, and we have this. This is, we should probably move this part inwards. So let's do this. What we can do is we can select all these faces. And just move them to here. Now we have a platform. Let's click accept. And we can further polygroup edit, just creating pillars. If you want, as you can see, you can just not move this, you can need to extrude this after you select it properly, unlike what I did. So let's extrude this, make a just an arena of some kind. That's the idea, at least in my case. It's just a bit bigger. Extrude again to create additional polygons. Or to be more precise, faces, I need to push all the way here. This may have been too long, but we will know in a second. You can push it again. Edit this just a bit. Can do the same here. Now, in this case, I'm just eyeballing the whole process, so it's not ideal. I'm just going to add this here. Add a pillar. Extrude slightly. Use a lower face. Extrude again. Dip into the wall. It's a bit misaligned, so let's select this and let's move all of them together, and it's should be fine. Now let's view polygroup edit, extrude the face. Select the pillar, extrude it again. The height is a bit off, so let's make it a bit taller. You can also select the edges to move them around if you want to change the size, and you can shift select them to select multiple edges at the same time. You want to modify the size of the face. This is common knowledge when you are experienced with modeling. And now we can extrude. Again, it's a bit misaligned, but we are not trying to be perfect here, so Let me just do this. And I'm going to leave it at that. Going to modify this placement of these vertices a bit by reducing, fitting them in here. Yes, I'm not the best architect, but this is fine. Accept. Now let's select a material for this platform. I think something like a marble should be fine. We could... Let's see how it looks. Not ideal, as we don't have proper UVs. So let's just create a new material for this. Go to materials. Let's see how our basic material looks on this. Yes, basic UVs are fine. You can create a material. Call it m_platform. Save. Click the platform material. And now we can work on material for this platform. Save it.